May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. During college, when I was first coming to the Episcopal Church, my friends and I often prayed Compline together in our apartment on Sunday evenings. And as some of you may know, there is a line in one of the collects that reads, "Be present, O merciful Lord, and protect us through the hours of this night, so that we who are wearied by the changes and chances of this life may rest in your eternal changelessness." And over the past few weeks, when it seems that things are changing so quickly, often for the worst, I have returned to this collect. And over the past few weeks, I have watched and joined with friends and colleagues and you all as we have attempted to respond in faith to the nearly endless changes or attempted changes from the government. Trans people, including some trans clergy, gathered across the country to call for hospitals to continue to provide healthcare to trans kids in response to the executive order banning healthcare for them. Churches and other places of worship have been planning and strategizing how to keep all members of their community safe in regards to changing policies related to ICE and deportation. And during all of these evil and death-dealing policy changes, I've been, for the most part, pretty overwhelmed, cycling between trying to do the work that is in front of me that I need to do and ignoring the world through some really good video games. And I've also been surrounded by really good people. And through these conversations with those around me, I've attempted to ask myself, how do I want to show up in this moment? How can I not be so weary by the changes and chances of this world? How do we want to show up in this moment? And I think today we are given some images in our readings that can help us think through how to be in this moment and how to show up. In our reading from Jeremiah today, we are given an image of a tree. The prophet writes, "Blessed are those who trust in the Lord, whose trust is in the Lord. They shall be like a tree planted by water, sending out its roots by the stream. It shall not fear when heat comes, and its leaves shall stay green. In the year of the drought, it is not anxious, and it does not cease to bear fruit." And we hear a similar theme in the words of the psalmist. "Happy are they who have not walked in the counsel of the wicked. They too are like trees planted by streams of water, bearing fruit in due season, with leaves that do not wither." And so I'm challenged, how can I shift myself to be like those trees mentioned in Jeremiah today and in the Psalm? How can we all shift to be like those trees? And we are told by Jeremiah that those who are like those trees planted by the water are like that because they have trusted in the Lord, because they have not followed those mortals who boast only in their own strength or in their own wealth, who turn away from the Lord and their fellow neighbor. And similarly, those in the Psalms prosper because they have delighted in the Lord and the Lord's ways. And yet, lest we think that this is some sort of material prospering, that only if we follow in the ways of the Lord all will be made easy, I think that both Jeremiah and the psalmist are pointing to a type of spiritual prospering and spiritual depth that allows one to remain rooted amidst troubles, that allows one to attempt to not be anxious in the year of the drought. And it is through drawing near to God and to our community that we are able to rest in God's unchanging nature, and we are able to remember during times when things may seem hopeless that a different, better world might be possible. And we are able to see and imagine that different world together. And we are given glimpses of that world in the gospel today. We are able to see the world that is created through the God that we cling to in these times, and that God desires good things for us and for all people. We are shown in Luke's version of the Beatitudes a world that is materially very different from the one we usually find ourselves in. We are shown a world where those who are poor inherit the kingdom, a world where those who are hungry are filled, a world where those who are crying and weeping will be laughing. And so, when we are in a world that might want to keep people hungry, that wants to remove people from their homes, that wants to deny health care for trans kids, we can look towards and begin to imagine that different world. And in that task of imagination, and in helping to build that world where tears are turned to laughter, maybe then I can start to imagine us as those trees planted by the stream, fed by the water that is the grace of God, fed by the water that is us imagining a different world, fed by the water that is knowing that wherever we may go, that wherever following Christ may lead us, what ultimately remains is not the wicked, as they will be blown away, as the chaff is blown away, but what will remain is the love of God. And as we continue to navigate these changes, my prayer for myself and for all of you continues to be that collect. Be present, O merciful Lord, that we who are wearied by the changes and chances of this life may rest in your eternal changelessness. Lord, be present, and may we rejoice and leap for joy, and may our reward surely be great in heaven and here on earth. Amen.